Right now, Ian Castleberry joins the Wise Guys because we got lots of Major League Baseball to run down with. Ian, of course, with Barrett Sports Media, and joining us via the DC Creaseman Jewelers Wise Lines. How you doing on this Monday, Ian?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Hey, we're good. It's always good on a Monday, man. This lineup makes it easy to get out of bed. And, man, we've got some questions for you. Let's start first, Ian. Trevor Bauer suspended by Major League Baseball for 2 seasons for, obviously, multiple sexual assault allegations. But, Ian, what did Major League Baseball have that prosecutors didn't, other than the burden for, any reasonable doubt? They got to kind of back off of that. But other than that, I mean, how did baseball, go from the DA saying, there's not enough to charge him to we're suspending you for 2 years?
Well, you said it. Major League Baseball doesn't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that these allegations are true. They can go on what the evidence shows, and the LA County District Attorney's Office released the reports, released some photos. You can see that this woman who accused Trevor Bauer of assault was, in fact, beaten up. And Major League Baseball also talked to other women who had made accusations against Bauer as part of their investigation. But they don't have the same legal restrictions. I mean, just because the LA County District Attorney deemed that there wasn't sufficient evidence to go forward with criminal convictions, Major League Baseball doesn't have that obligation. And maybe some people would object to that, but to that I would say, look, an employer can fire an employee for just about any reason it chooses to other than discrimination. And what Major League Baseball saw here, look, they think they have enough to suspend Trevor Bauer for 2 seasons, 324 games. That's way more than any other domestic violence suspension has been handed down by Major League Baseball. The previous high was Sam Dyson. He was suspended for a full season, 162 games. So, and this effectively lets the Dodgers off the hook, too. Those are the 2 years that he was under contract with the Dodgers. Now the Dodgers won't be obligated to pay him. Bauer was being paid while he was on administrative leave. He'd been out for the past 99 games. Now it looks like you're going to add 324 games to that. If he serves through that full suspension, he won't be eligible to return until the 2024 season, 19 games into the season.
Does this hold? Do you think it gets reduced?
There have been reports that Major League Baseball was willing to possibly reduce this sentence, but the thing is, Bauer is fighting this, and none of these other domestic violence suspensions were appealed, were fought. The union didn't stick up. Bauer is maintaining that he did not do any of this. Evidence to the contrary. He's saying that this woman, she said she wanted it rough, that he was doing what she asked. I mean, I think we could all draw a line as to what that means, rough, sex, whatever. Again, I would say, if you're really curious about this, you can find this information online. He beat that woman up. And I don't think any team wants that associated with their roster. They don't want to have to answer to fans, whether it's female fans, young fans. They don't want that associated with their team. Will this stick? Yes, I think it will, because Bauer insists on fighting it, and Major League Baseball does not have the burden, as you said, of proving these allegations beyond a reasonable doubt.
Wow. Has Trevor Bauer pitched his last game in the major leagues?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he has.
Okay.
I don't see a team willing to take a chance on this.
Yeah, agreed there. All right, this is from Trevor Bauer to what may have been a historic day over the weekend at Citi Field. 5 Mets pitchers combined for a no-no against the Phillies. Wow, Ian, is that a first?
It is the first time that 5 pitchers have been involved in a no-hitter. There have been 17 combined no-hitters in the history of Major League Baseball, but this is the first that involves 5 pitchers. It's also the most pitches that have been thrown in a no-hitter. There were 159 total pitches thrown among those 5 pitchers on Saturday.
Wow, that was just mind-blowing. Man, the Mets under Buck Showalter showing some early season surprises. Of course, Rob, just designated for assignment, so I guess the 3,000 hit club is going to have to wait for someone else.
Absolutely. I don't know who's going to pick up Robinson Cano. Well, first of all, nobody's going to pick him up until the Mets release him, because he's owed $45 million between this season and next. Nobody's going to take that on. Cano was hitting 195, a 501 OPS. He wasn't hitting. He's not fielding. He wasn't in the lineup for the Mets. You know, the Mets can use a designated hitter now. And even they said, no, we have no use for him. And I think there is a little bit of a risk in terms, you know, the Mets, they have the best record in the National League right now, 16 wins, 7 losses. They already have a 3-game lead in the National League East. So I think among some players like Francisco Lindor, who viewed Robinson Cano as a leader, maybe there is some risk to this. But I think this also says that the Mets, under Buck Showalter, Billy Epler, the general manager, Steve Cohen, the owner, they want to win, and they don't feel obligated to keep Robinson Cano in the lineup just because he's getting paid that much money. They think they're a better team without him, so they're shipping him out.
Wow. Just like that. It's a harsh business, but, you know, he's got 40 million reasons to be okay with that. That'd be nice. You know, how many times I've been, you know, in this business, right? A couple, 3 times. It's like, well, Pat, you know, we got budget cuts. We're going to have to let you go. But, hey, enjoy that 40 million. That's going to be in your bank account tomorrow. Yeah. And then I woke up from that dream. As Ian Castleberry joins the Wise Guys via the DC Creasman Jewelers Wise Lines with Barrett Sports Meeting, our baseball update for this Monday. So Clayton Kershaw becomes the Dodgers' all-time strikeout leader. That's quite impressive. He passes Don Sutton, and I think he did it in a lot less time, we should point out. But really, after Sandy Koufax, is Kershaw the greatest pitcher in the Dodgers' storied history, or would you put him above Sandy Koufax?
Yeah, this is a really tough call. I mean, I think you can make the argument that Kershaw is better than Sandy Koufax, especially when you consider the increased level of offense and home runs and all the rules that are designed to help hitters. Their numbers are quite similar, actually. Clayton Kershaw, 188 wins. Sandy Koufax, 165 wins. But Kershaw has pitched 3 more seasons, or he's in the midst of pitching 3 more seasons than Koufax. Kershaw has a lower ERA. He has more strikeouts, obviously being the Dodgers' all-time leader. Both pitchers have 3 Cy Young awards. Both pitchers have won National League Most Valuable Player award. But I think, and again, you have to take the era into consideration, Koufax, to me, would get the nod because of the number of innings that he threw. And obviously, this is a much different game now. You know, we saw even with Clayton Kershaw earlier this year, he was pulled out of a game where he was pitching a perfect game, and they pulled him from the game. But Koufax had 3 seasons where he pitched more than 300 innings. And pitchers don't even get to 200 innings now. And he had 3 seasons where he had more than 300 strikeouts. Clayton Kershaw has 1 300-plus strikeout season. He has 1 season where he pitched 200 innings. So you could have quite a debate as to which one is better. I think I would still give the nod to Koufax, but Kershaw has a very, very good case.
All right.
And that's incredible. I mean, it's like Sandy Koufax is you know, this aloof figure that, you know, you dare not compare anybody to. And, you know, you look at Dodger pitchers, and it's just incredible. I mean, you're talking about Koufax, and you're talking about Kershaw, and talking about Don Sutton. Nobody even talking about Don Drysdale, was one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Absolutely. Don Drysdale, Oral Hershiser. I don't know if you brought up the same
Sure.
conversation. Fernando Valenzuela. There are some very big names in Dodgers pitching history.
That'd be tough to rank that list. Holy cow.
Man, I would put Koufax first, Clayton Kershaw second, and then kind of roll from there. Wow. Good discussion on that. Ian Castleberry on the DC Creasman Jewelers Wise Lines. We're talking Major League Baseball headlines. And Matt Jungle, if you're listening, earmuffs. All right, at 3-19, the Reds are off to a historically bad start, Ian. And, you know, fans were not happy with the team trading away key players in the offseason. But is it more than just that's impacting this proud franchise?
Well, you certainly, you know, you trade Amir Garrett, Jesse Winker, Eugenio Suarez, Sonny Gray. They let Nick Castellanos go in free agency. I mean, I don't think any team could withstand losing that level of talent, but the players that are still there aren't performing, and that's a big reason why. Joey Votto, love Joey Votto, one of the best hitters in recent memory, but he's only batting 122 right now, 413 OPS. Nobody in the Cincinnati Reds everyday lineup is batting over 270. So it's they're batting 200 as a team. They have a 500 OPS as a team, both DFL in the National League. They have the highest ERA, over 6 in the National League. No starter has an ERA below 5.5. So it's just a disaster all across in the lineup, through the pitching staff. It should not be a surprise that the Cincinnati Reds have such a poor record right now.
Boy, that's just tough. I mean, I grew up a huge Reds fan, during the Big Red Machine, and I put up with a lot of crap when I went down to Dodger Stadium in the 70s into the 80s, to see, especially when the Big Red Machine was rolling in those days, I'm wearing a Reds cap, and I'm just like, one of the few red caps and a sea of blue.
Yeah.
One of the most beautiful stadiums, though, in all of baseball still.
Now wearing a red cap gets you a dirty look for a different reason, usually.
Yeah. Well, what's funny, Ian? And I think I've told this story recently. So, we had a connection. My dad's aunt was best friends with Walter O'Malley's wife, Kay O'Malley. And so when they moved out to L.A. and all of that, my dad's aunts had moved out. So it was to the point where Dad, one day we were watching a Reds game. George Foster just literally hit a home run that skipped off the left field pavilion into the parking lot. And Dad said, "Hey, you want to go say hello to Mrs. O'Malley?" I'm like, "Sure." I've got my Reds cap on, but not thinking about that. And we walk in, we get in there, tell them, security comes right out, says, "Come on in." And Mrs. O'Malley, and at that point she had, she spoke with a whisper, and, she said, "Patrick, why are you wearing a Reds cap?" And I said, "Oh, I'm like, I'm a big Reds fan, Mrs. O'Malley." And my dad was like, just mortified. I'm like, "Well, you let me in with the cap on." So I was even stupid enough to wear the cap into the president's box at Dodger Stadium.
That may be where Seinfeld got the idea for that episode with Elaine wearing the Orioles cap to a Yankee game.
Yeah, exactly.
Sitting in the president's box, Pat.
Oh, my God. That's one of the classic ones. Remember the other one where she was supposed to be at work? She lied about being at work or not being, she said had something come up like a sick relative. And then basically there's a picture taken, like that made the papers, and she's in it. Yeah, it's just like, oh my God. That might have been the same episode. I think that's what it was. They're like, she's wearing an Orioles cap? Oh, good times. Ian Castleberry writes for Barrett Sports Media, well-respected sports and media website. Always great to have Ian's take on all these big topics. This guy right here, Ian Castleberry, cannot thank you enough, my friend.
Okay, thanks, guys.
You bet. Be well, friend. Appreciate you, Ian. All right, Ian Castleberry.